That was close. What do I mean by that? Well, that was SummerSlam 1996 I just watched. And let's put it this way. If it wasn't for the last two matches of the show, this might have been the worst SummerSlam yet, and maybe of all time. Not sure, since I have, still a good amount more still to watch. But yeah, I thought last year's SummerSlam was bad. This year's came pretty close. And I was surprised, though, because WrestleMania 12 from this year was actually a pretty good show. I felt like it was definitely one of the more underrated shows on the card, in my honest opinion. This show, though, the lack of talent was still showing. We were starting to get some new stars coming into the WWF at the time, but this was also around the time where WCW pulled off the heel turn of Hulk Hogan joining the NWO. So they were on fire right now. And the most still the WWF had at the time to work with was a classic moment from Shawn Michaels. And it just wasn't enough compared to the competition from WCW. So WWF was definitely still not on good terms. They were slowly making their way out of that hole because by the end of the 1990s, they pretty much were back on top pretty much and outdoing WCW eventually drove them out of business and they bought them out. But this show, other than the last two matches and maybe the opening match, this show was just a glorified house show. Like a very, very skippable show, I would say. Just an average grade. I gave it a C for this show. I mean, I was sorry earlier, but I gave this show a C. I mean, if it wasn't for his last match again, I probably would have given it, an even lower grade than I did. But let's get right into this show. SummerSlam 1996, which took place on August 18th, 1996, at Gund Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. Opening match was Owen Hart versus Savio Vega. I guess the story of this match was, at the time, Owen Hart was, using the heel tactics with a cast he's been using on his arm for too long, and he had been using it as a weapon, pretty much. And that's pretty much how he used it here in the match. I just like, the psychology play there by, Owen Hart as well, just basically just being just a crafty heel, pretty much. I mean, the match was, not a complete squash. It did give a good amount of time. But it did really establish Owen Hart even more further also as a heel. I mean, I can't remember what match he was in 95, but I know 94, he was definitely still main event material, as he still should have been at this time also. But he wins the match by pinfall after he, of course, used the cast on Savio Vega. Not a bad opening match, I thought, between these two. What wasn't too good, though, was the next several matches. First, we had a fatal four-way elimination match for the WWF Tag Team Championships. It's the champions, the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart, with Sonny, taking on the New Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Leif Cassidy, versus the Body Donors, Skip and Zip, versus the Godwins, Harry and Phineas, with Hillbilly Jim. So the order eliminations were the Body Donors being eliminated by the Smoking Guns. Then the New Rockers were eliminated by the Godwins. And the Godwins were eliminated by the Smoking Guns. So the Smoking Guns retained their championships. Now, this match, first off, was 3 heels versus 1 face team. Everyone was heels except for the Godwins. But this is a year, apparently, where tag team wrestling was not a big deal at all. And like a fatal 4-way concept was still kind of new also. So this match wasn't really anything too special, I felt. I mean, Smoking Guns retained, don't get me wrong, I was fine with that. But it wasn't one of the best fatal 4-ways I had seen. Pretty boring match, the finishes were just like, they just happened, whatnot. Just nothing really got accomplished. Tag team wrestling wasn't a really big deal in 96. But, the Smoking Guns win. Probably the best route to go with, I'd say. Post-match, though, we had some promo cut by Sonny. It was pretty much just, around the time where the WWE was starting to, they wanted to expose more sex appeal on their show. And this promo by Sonny was pretty much what, started it pretty much right there. We then had The British Bulldog, who is a heel now, taking on Psycho Sid Justice, who was probably another one of the more bigger names that around the time with the thin talent the roster was. Psycho Sid Justice, he was all right, but he definitely never really impressed me too much. As I mentioned last year in 1995 SummerSlam, he was supposed to face Shawn Michaels for the WWF Intercontinental Championship, but since the talent was thin, they went with Razor Ramon instead. Went with the rematch from the ladder match from WrestleMania 10. Of course, Psycho Sid Justice also would go on to eventually fight Shawn Michaels for the WWF Championship at the Royal Rumble in 1997. So this match is pretty much just meant to put over Psycho Sid Justice. British Bulldog wasn't really that big of a hit anymore around this time. So I mean, it was just him just putting over Psycho Sid Justice, just a average match for what it was. We then had Goldust with Marlena taking on the Wild Man Mark Miro with Sable. As I probably said in my WrestleMania reviews, if there's anyone you want to go woo for, it was definitely Sable. But this match was based off the whole love story pairing and whatnot. The match wasn't really anything too special by two mid-card wrestlers who, Goldust, had his moments in his career. But him and Mark Miro did mesh well. I think Mark Miro was someone else who Vince was really trying to, give a big push to, but no one was really getting behind him that well. Goldust won by pinfall afterwards. He kind of starts hitting on Sable a little bit, tries to kiss her, but, they prevent that from happening pretty much. Match was just okay. This was all right. Then we had, speaking of the IC title, we didn't have the Intercontinental Championship defended, but it was vacated around this time because of the injury of Ahmed Johnson. Eventually, though, I think in a tournament, Mark Miro did win the IC title, but never really got far anywhere at all with his run in the WWF. And then we had this. This was probably the worst part of the show. It was a match between Jake the Snake Roberts and Jerry the King Lawler. And beforehand, Jerry was talking trash on, Jake the Snake Roberts and also Mark Henry as well. The match happened. Nothing really good at all. It was just really sloppy, a really horrible match. It was more meant just to continue to put more heat on Jerry the King Lawler, pretty much, which they succeeded in that point, but it wasn't a pay-per-view match at all close whatsoever. And afterwards, Mark Henry came up and, confronted Jerry the King Lawler because of him just trashing on him as well. I don't know. It was just bland. Didn't really make any sense. I just didn't really care at all. What was good though was these last two matches. This match we had, which was Mick Foley for the first time wrestling at SummerSlam, but of course he was Mankind. He was a heel though. He was taking on The Undertaker in a Boiler Room Brawl. Now, pretty much you just brawled, back, near the boiler room, and you just keep you just pretty much incapacitate your opponent until they couldn't really get out. Because the goal was you had to get to the ring and take the urn from Paul Bearer, which would be more so in the Undertaker's favor since Paul Bearer is Undertaker's manager. The match happens. It was pre-recorded though. The portion of the match where they come out trying to get to the ring was live, but everything that was not outside in the arena was pre-recorded. So I guess Undertaker went searching for Mankind, couldn't find him, and then Mankind came behind him and started attacking him, and they just brawled, using any weapons they could find. In general, Mankind was close to hitting some type of dive off a ladder on the Taker on the concrete floor, but Taker stood up before he could get anywhere. They eventually do brawl back to the boiler room where Mankind thought he had kept Undertaker down there, but he went back down the hallway, tried to bar off the door with a bunch of weapons and anything else he could find to stop Taker from getting out. But then Taker would get up, bail through. They would continue the brawl, and then they would get out to the arena, and it looked like Undertaker was about to win. But he gets in the ring, and he does his usual pose. But Paul Bearer was resisting on giving Undertaker the urn. And then Mankind came from behind and started attacking Taker again. But then Paul Bearer was laughing. And all of a sudden, he started to attack Undertaker as well. So Taker, was trying to sit up and fight through it all still. And I do like how, it did take a lot for Mankind to definitely get Taker down. Just to show, he was definitely, you were going to have to really beat him down in order to definitely beat the guy. So every time it was close for Mankind, they'd be taking the urn from Paul Bearer. He would get back up. They'd be attacking him again. Finally, I believe they hit Taker with the urn. I can't remember 100% if that is correct or not, but knocked him out cold. Mankind took the urn and won, and they left together smiling and laughing. Afterwards, the drone people or whatever heck they call it, I've drawn a blank, sorry, came out and they took Taker away and carried him out pretty much. I don't know if I can't remember if Kane debuted in 96 or 97. I think 97 it was, but I think this was eventually set up for, the build for Kane to eventually come and he would team up with Paul Bearer. I think that's the reason why Paul Bearer turned heel here and turned on Undertaker, but I could be wrong by that. But this whole match was pretty much just introduced, hardcore wrestling, the whole hardcore concept. And that's, of course, was, like Mankind, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, Dude Love, whatever you want to call him, was all about pretty much. And I think that's what it introduced there. And I think it was very well done. This is where Undertaker, really started to, sink into Dead Man gimmick. Because I've said before how many times in the first several years, wasn't really some of the best moments of Taker's career. Still really green, especially the feud with Giant Gonzalez. Oh my God, that was abysmal. But I think this is around the time where I think Taker was really, coming into the element of being the Dead Man. Of course, he would eventually go on to have a run as the American Badass also, but he eventually would return as the Dead Man also years down the line. But this was a good match, and this main event wasn't too bad either. It was probably about as good as I thought the Boiler Room Brawl was. It was Shawn Michaels with Jose Lothario taking on Vader with Jim Cornette for the WWF Championship. This match, I think, wasn't one of the best matches you'd see from Shawn Michaels. I mean, Vader was... The problem was also here, Vader and Shawn Michaels apparently didn't get along too well. Like, Shawn Michaels didn't really like working with him. I think they were supposed to have another... I think the original plan was for Vader to win the title here, and then Shawn Michaels would win it back at the Royal Rumble. But because, Shawn Michaels and Vader didn't really like working together, Shawn won the title here, and then he would, like I said before, he would defend it against Psycho Sid Justice at the Royal Rumble in 1997. The match, though, again, wasn't too bad. It was just a typical big man who, could have definitely deserved better than he got in the WWF. There was 2 times where, first time Shawn Michaels got counted out. But then Jim Cornette on the microphone was upset, saying, no, we came here to win. We're going to beat Shawn Michaels, so this match better restart. And it did. And then eventually, Jim Cornette tried to strike the referee. And a tennis racket got in there. So Michaels hit Vader with a tennis racket, got disqualified, so we started hitting Jim Cornette with it. And again, they pretty much wanted to do it one more time to restart the match again. But, I think Shawn Michaels got out of the way of Vader. The crowd was really into this match, too. It was pretty much a basic, babyface taking on, a big, dangerous heel and Vader also. But HBK eventually would win to retain his championship in a pretty good main event, I'd say. Of course, as I said, that and the Boiler Room Brawl saved the show from being completely awful. I mean, again, the opening match with Hart and Savio Vega wasn't too bad, but everything else this show was just garbage. Those last 2 matches saved the show. That's why I give this a C for grade pretty much. Next year, though, next year SummerSlam, not sure how good it's going to be, but I know for a fact somebody else will be at this SummerSlam. I do believe a career changing moment, though, happened from all, so that wasn't for good. What is that, though? I will get to that when we talk about SummerSlam 1997 next. So what grade would you give SummerSlam 1996? I gave it a C. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And as always, sure to click by like and subscribe or comment on his channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandAir93. And until then, I'll see you guys all later. So until then, peace out, everybody.